That's the Jimmy intro.
Yep.
He stole his thing.
Welcome.
That game ended exactly how it should have. I mean, just awful ending. Just you couldn't have had a worse ending to a just awful second half.
Most everything was bad.
Yeah.
About
But the way it
how
ended
that
with
game ended.
your two star players running into each other and limping off the court was about the worst case scenario you could ever imagine.
The
Just when you
visual
thought
was
the game
just
couldn't get
nuts.
worse.
Same injury, same expression, hitting each other at the same time, and the two most important players on the team.
Do you think
these things, and they always happen in literally the last minute of the game when it's pretty much a wrap.
Yeah.
When this stuff happens.
It was
Do you think
over.
Tatum got a little
126,
jealous,
119.
and he was like, "I'm walking off too."
Both of them saw the writing on the wall at the end of the game. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna play the end of this game here.
Well, Brown definitely looked more hurt.
Yeah,
Brown
he
looked
walked
more
off
hurt.
on
He
both
was.
legs.
Yeah.
I think, fingers crossed. I don't think anything happened to Tatum really. I mean, it hurts when you get, it's like taking a hockey puck to, it's like it hurts.
Who knows? Who
That's
knows?
okay.
I
The
know.
good thing is they've got an extra few days. I mean, they don't play again until Wednesday, so that's the one silver lining in all this. It's not like this is the front end of a back-to-back where you pretty much know they wouldn't be able to go. So they've got a little bit of time to get healthy. But, man, the Jaylen one is the one I'm really concerned about, though, because, again, he was a game-time decision coming into this game with an injury. That's basically what he's dealing with now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if they're seriously giving some thought to shutting him down for the playoffs or playing game, whichever.
Or just tank. I'm just kidding. But the Jaylen's also a bit of a soccer player with these injuries too. So like I always want to wait and see. He's down on the floor. He's holding his face all the time. Like, he's slow to get up.
I don't know. He's been banged up all year.
He's usually fine.
Yeah.
So we'll see here. I'm hoping that was like banging knees instead of an ankle tweak.
That looked like banging legs. I didn't even see the knees hit, which was a good thing.
Yeah, I honestly think they whacked shins.
Yeah, no, which hurts.
Which hurts.
But that's
the kind of thing that you're like, fine. You know?
Right, exactly. It
like
hurts.
you come off the playground for a little bit and then you go back.
That's why they make you wear shin pads in soccer, because you get kicked in the shin and it freaking hurts.
I'm looking at the replay now.
Hope you guys are right.
Like Jaylen, Tatum, and the Portland guy, all three of their feet all got landed at the same spot at the same time, and Jaylen
never
got
cross the streams, guys. Don't cross the streams. We know that. Just watching Jaylen go off, he put full weight on his leg before he decided to hop. It really looks like more shin than ankle, or than knee or something twisty, sprainy. That's best case scenario.
That's where we're going with.
They bumped into each other. It hurt. They got an ouchie. And he's fine.
That's my
vibe.
Hurt legs and hurt feelings. We'll see you on Wednesday. That's what
and why not leave the court after this one? Because just a real shit close to the game. And so look, I don't want to overreact to the
one thing. One other player left the court too.
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to start.
Nice.
Because I'm kind of confused by this. I want everybody else's reaction first. The whole Smart situation. Marcus Smart. Offensive foul on Nurkic, Smart with a little sack tap, technical. I guess one technical tosses you. I get it. Smart is like persecuted, and
wait. Well, why did one technical toss him? I didn't understand.
I don't know that. I don't know.
They always have the it's within their authority.
They can do it.
Hit you with one or two. They can toss you for one. They can toss you for two.
Like this is a single infraction, but it was so that I'm going to toss you out anyway.
See, everyone seemed to think it was a flagrant too.
Anytime you attack the sack, they're going to toss you at this point. Anything that resembles attacking the sack is going to get you a toss. And again, I think they did the Celtics a solid by only having one technical attached to that, because they could have hit him with two and the automatic tossing, but they only hit him with one and tossed him anyway. But Smart wasn't having a good game even before that.
No, he wasn't. This was it was a raging against Marcus Smart sort of game. And so, but here's the thing. So Twitter goes full outrage mode over it being an unfair ejection. That's great. You're right. It might be a little bit harsh because he's Marcus Smart. Maybe don't hit a guy in the sack.
I thought he.
late in the game.
You know what though?
I watched the replay a few
but
times.
it was pretty.
It didn't.
Questionable.
I don't know. I mean, like he did a pretty good job of making it seem like he didn't mean to.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's like in that sense, maybe ejection was kind of like unwarranted, but in the other sense, it's Marcus Smart. He's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. He's found himself in these situations many times over the course of his career, and I think the refs were just like, "Yeah, you're gone." He didn't even argue it. He just bombed out of it.
That's what I was just about to say.
He didn't even seem like that. Like surprised.
Well,
I mean,
it wasn't a great game for the refs, but he didn't. He was like, "Yeah, I did. I hit him in the sack."
And he knows that whenever you do something like that, there's a high probability that you're going to get tossed. So, that's why I think he was just like, "Yep."
He saw the screen coming and was like, "Damn."
Yeah, and he tried to fight through it, but you can't attack the sack, man.
Isn't there a world? That's the thing is, so yes, maybe it was light. Maybe it's Mickey Mouse. Maybe they came down on him hard. Maybe don't do it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's what it comes down.
I mean, it was a foul on Nurkic, though, wasn't it? To begin with, so that's what makes it all the more strange. He was moving, he slid into that position, and they just had a hard collision there.
Shouldn't have had his nuts there.
I mean, it was a foul on him.
If he wasn't moving
his body into that position,
if he wasn't moving into it,
because that's the thing that I think that's the thing that's a little bit frustrating for the Celtics is that Marcus, what he did was wrong, but what he did would not have happened if it wasn't for the illegal screen.
I call it technical and don't eject them. That seemed like the answer to me.
Yeah, but to John's point, the refs this was not one of their shining moments.
No,
I'm thinking specifically about the tip in that Tristan had that they waved off.
Tristan was so in real time. That was so obviously off the rim. You could see it in real time. It wasn't even close. And
that became a 5-point play that they never recovered from because they would have taken a lead on that.
That was from there. It was just run right after that. That was such a bad call. And that one hurt. But fine. Take the refs out of it. We still have to look at just late game execution again. And this is so surprising, with Tatum coming off a 60-point game, 24-point first half, literally couldn't miss. And then that little stretch. And the most amazing thing is 0 turnovers in that 60-point game, which was crazy. Right. I didn't even really realize that until today. And then that stretch there where, just falls asleep on the Melo 3, tries to force a shot, gets blocked, doesn't get back on defense, turns around looking at a ref. Powell goes and scores a layup, 7-point lead, ball game. Whole friggin' thing is condensed in those 2 plays. That's it. It's a 2-point game, and then it's a 7-point game just because of that. I was a massive break. I mean, you just handed the game away in 10 seconds or any shot of it. So late game execution and those breakdowns, how in the world do you leave somebody that open for a 3? And I'm pretty sure that's Tatum's rotation over there. He just got lost.
Looked like it was.
We talked about this team's inability to handle adversity all season. And this game was a prime example of that happening. Yeah, they got some bad whistles and they got some breaks that didn't go their way, but they were still right there in the game. All you simply have to do is execute at a high level in the last 2-3 minutes of the game, and you get the win. That's literally all you had to do, and that's literally the one thing of all the things they did late in the game, the one thing they did not do.
So that Melo 3 was the whole ball game right there. Obviously, Brown missed the first, contest on CJ the play before. I think that made it 4 at that point, and then Melo's was just game. Why was Romeo Langford in the game?
I don't know. Defense, I guess. I'm not that's like the 4th most annoying thing that happened.
Yeah.
We know the kind of game.
I would say Tristan Thompson being in the game for as long as he was in that 4th quarter, when they built up a 7 or 9 point lead was also a little bit questionable.
Where did Nesmith go?
And then Nesmith went away, and I didn't know. There was a couple things late there that I didn't fully get.
Yeah, I mean, Evan Fournier was on fire in this game, so I understand that one in that position. Then you get a couple wings in there, I guess. But you also had Marcus Smart going wild, jacking shots. He made a few here or there, but for a string of 5-6 possessions.
A few is very generous. He made a few.
A handful down the stretch there. I think 2 out of 4.
Total. He can't make a handful down the stretch if he makes 4 total. A handful is 5.
Is that a handful? Okay, that's a handful too.
2 shots down the stretch. Then he rimmed out that 3.
Man.
So that was the stretch where he really took over. And no one else was getting touches at that point. And I thought his distributing was good early, and then he was just taking those shots later. So that's the guy I probably would have pulled for a Nesmith. And ultimately, he got pulled by the refs, and it was Pritchard who took a good charge. And then Pritchard came right out for Langford, and you had that miscommunication, which I don't think was on Langford, as you said, John. But again, why are you putting a guy like that who hasn't played in about 3 games in crunch time?
A weird spot. I'm not sure what Brad was thinking there.
It's been happening all season.
Yeah, some questionable stuff down the stretch, both in terms of, who was playing, the rotations, and then just the execution was terrible. So you're not going to fault them for being. I mean, this was a ridiculous game. I mean, for the first half was about as fun as it gets with everything going in, and then Portland came out and they were still hitting in the second. The Celtics went a little bit cold, and fell behind. But all of that stuff we mentioned,
turnovers.
Totally winnable game. Turnovers for sure.
You just get so used to those turnovers too at this point. It's like, the ball's flying out of bounds again.
Just bad, really bad ones too. I mean, really bad. It's not ones. These aren't pressure turnovers. These are just bad, sloppy turnovers. You're just like, you turn around and you just throw it 3 feet to the left of a guy who was standing at the 3-point line. Like, just bad passes, forces, just jamming it into places you just absolutely don't need to. Again, nothing caused by defensive pressure, almost none of them. Because certainly Portland's not applying defensive pressure.
Right.
They're giving you a free run. Throwing it away against this team is inexcusable.
Yeah. I mean, this team isn't talented enough to just kind of walk out there, make mistakes, and be able to, frankly, make up for those later on. They're killing themselves. Most of the time. And that is what makes me nervous about this team going into the playoffs. People, talk about, the playoffs is a completely, that they need to have momentum. And it would be great if they had momentum. But this team doesn't seem like they have the wherewithal to get their shit together for enough of a run where you can feel confident that they're going to play well in the playoffs. It's crazy how this team is.
Yeah. This felt like a lot of losses this season, right? This game,
yeah,
totally.
This felt like
except it was entertaining for a half.
This felt like it could be the end of the season. I mean, there's 7 games left. If those injuries go some way, then that's it. I mean, they're down to 7 now in the East. So all that excitement from Friday just went right back into the play-in tournament.
I don't think those injuries. Again, we'll see here.
I don't think
we'll see. I mean, I think they could go either way.
It's amazing.
Brown's stunned. The one I worry about. I think Tatum will be fine. Brown's the one that I think we need to keep an eye on.
Well, listen. The game on Friday was masked. It was we said it. It was a poor game from a team standpoint. It was masked by an unreal all-time performance. The issues are still there with this team that were there Fridays as well. And there was, some people were saying, Josue, that they can build around this game. They can build around this win. This is the type of win that they can rally around Jayson Tatum and just go, and then get some momentum and go into the playoffs here. It's like it doesn't really work that way. It was
Who listens to Josue?
It was a really really good performance.
Wow,
that was needed.
Damn, Josue.
Yeah, Josue, who's not even here to defend himself, guys. So come on,
you can't call out from a Zoom from your living room, okay?
Come on.
But
the issues are the issues. They haven't gone away.
You're gonna catch some shit
because Tatum got hot and went 60. And again, Tatum had another great night. Offensively.
It started. Yeah, his second half was totally different.
Yeah, that was like that for everybody. But we still end up with like 30 plus points. I mean, he's still giving you the points that you need, and nobody else is really stepping up. And I mean, Fournier, to his credit, did tonight. But again, there was a lot to be asked for from others out there.
A shit game from a lot of starters. Bench saved them in this one. An absolute shame. So, and again, Fournier. What the Fournier thing was stunning, right? Okay, Fournier
can't figure that guy out.
Oh, Fournier looked
this was Orlando Fournier.
He started to find that shot in the third quarter.
No, but it wasn't just the shot; it was the movement. Like he had a couple of he looked. So even though he knocked down a shot or two, where he looked a little bit more in rhythm last game, he was in the molasses. He was moving so slowly, and then this game, all of a sudden, he's just more spry, that drive in the lane and the fake and the crossover and the spin, like just stuff, and just the way he was stepping into the shots super confidently, sidestep, up fake. I mean, he looked like he was like 2 months later in his recovery from where he was. The way he was playing, I was like, oh my God, this guy's Bobby, if you saw it, I didn't see it at all.
This was after you guys stepped out. I was trying to do a segment, and Jimmy and Joe Sway were just laughing at me.
Jimmy and Joe Sway should apologize to you.
I'm waiting. Yeah, Joe Sway called out. He was worried.
We did it for the fans. We knew the fans didn't want to listen to Bobby go on about having Fournier to end the show.
So we mentioned last
They should apologize to you.
Grant Williams came in and hit 2 threes in that third quarter or second quarter, somewhere in midpoint of that game. Tremont Waters hit one, but then into that third quarter, you had Fournier hitting, some step back, leaning threes on either side of the court to help get that comeback going as well. And he was on a 5 of 32 stretch, and he finally knocked down a couple shots in a row. He might even hit a third one after that. So that was so important to me, because for a guy that wasn't even close, he was able to string together a couple shots there, and then he brought it into today. 7 straight makes in this one. It was all about shot making, on the ball, off the ball.
Fournier is a guy that I'm getting the sense that he's only going to be adequate defensively when he's making shots. His offense will help his defense. He's one of those guys. This was one of his better defensive games. He made multiple hustle plays on multiple possessions, something we have not seen from him at all. I don't think it's a coincidence that the night where his shot is falling just so happens to be the night where his defense actually looks decent. I have mixed feelings about that. If he's coming off my bench, which when they're at their hole is where he'll be, you can live with that. But damn, he has to be able to be engaged defensively, regardless of whether he's making shots or not. And that's my concern about him going into the playoffs. When he's making shots, that's great. The team is doing well. Everyone's happy. But that shouldn't be what, frankly, drives your defense. But as it turns out, that's kind of how this team has been without him. Think about Tatum. I mean, think about this team. Their offense, when they're making shots, their defense is so much better. Yet when they're not making shots, their defense most nights is trash.
It's a great point.
Right.
You saw that aggressive steal and finish that was so important in the fourth quarter after all those shots went through for him.
That was a Marcus Smart Cobra Strike sort of moment there from Fournier.
Yeah.
You didn't expect to see that.
No. I love it. He's a guy that can kind of, depending on how many games Brown and Tatum possibly miss here, lead that offense. Take a bunch of shots, play make. You feel a little better about having him in there and looking capable as a mover and as a dribbler and all this different stuff. He just looked good. He looked good in multiple different facets of the offense, which is what stood out to me. He pulled up on some shots, fast break makes, a drive to the lane down the stretch of this one as well. So that's what still is encouraging about him and his fit with this team to me, is that he can get it in a bunch of different ways.
So, Bobby, someone in the chat is asking for you to analyze the defense here. Was this bad defense or good offense in the first half for Portland? I mean, for the Celtics, really all game. So the other team puts 129 spot on you. Yeah, there was defensive breakdowns late that we talked about, but over the course of the game, was this more hot shooting or just simply not challenging the shooters enough?
I think those Nurkic dives bothered them a lot. Yeah. Those were Thompson had a tough time dealing with those. He's obviously a guy who hasn't contested well on shots above the arc and the pick and pop this year and that kind of stuff. Guys bouncing around screens. So that was the first thing. And that's what you saw happen with that Romeo Tatum exchange there. He dove down, took Rob with him. Rob wasn't able to help up top, and those guys got lost. I saw that happening throughout this game. And like you said, this was probably Tristan Thompson's worst game since his comeback from COVID.
Yeah, he was bad.
So he wasn't impacting the ball. I don't think Marcus Smart bothered Damian Lillard the way he did last time.
Sometimes offensively, Bobby, doesn't he look like he's 6'3" in the lane when he gets the ball and he's like about to go up with it, and you're just like, oh God, don't shoot.
Again, though, I'm more worried about his defense.
Like, oh, come on, little guy, kick it out there. Come on, buddy. Yeah, no, you need him to be competitive defensively. I mean, he had a couple of moments as well, but yeah, that's what rounds out his game. It's just it's obvious, but like I don't understand why anyone passes him the ball. Like, he should never be passed the ball, like ever, unless he's completely wide open. These dumps where he has to collect and
he
then
takes a dump off as an isolation opportunity.
And then he starts to do 12 up fakes, and everyone's like, I'm just going to block this,
He kind of reminds me of Perk a little bit, the way he always has to go down.
So Perk would collect and take it low
down
and bring it down. But with him, he's immediately going into post-up mode instead of just up and out. He can't convert anything. So he should never be past the ball. He should literally, his only touches should be on offensive boards. I don't know why they give it to him or why he's insistent on trying to generate his own offense. It's really hard for him to, but this game, it was glaring.
It is, and you know, when you look what defenses do when they see the ball going to the post to Tristan, they do the same thing that we're doing. Nothing. They're not going to react. They're not going to double. They're basically, their mindset is, let's think about crashing the glass or get back and run our offense because we're about to get this miss and we're going to be off to the races. He has to be smarter about that, and you're not going to change how he is as a player, but damn. If you have Tatum on the floor, if you have Jaylen on the floor, if you've got Fournier making shots, if you get the ball on a block, you want them to be moving so they can get open and you can get them the ball. You shouldn't be thinking about your offense because those guys are better at that than you are. Play your role. Do your job.
Let me throw a quote out at you guys right now. We were talking about Evan Fournier feeling better and starting to get it. Fournier, after the game, asked about how he's responding to the aftermath of COVID. I've been feeling really weird, to be honest. I feel like I have a concussion. I feel a bit better, but it feels like everything is going too fast for me. Sometimes I struggle to focus, and my depth perception is really bad right now.
You see it, all right? That's exactly how he looks.
That's bad.
That would explain a lot.
Very bad.
That's how Bobby just nailed it. That's how he looks out there. All his shots are like coming up short.
I mean, guys,
slow to everything.
It explains what we're seeing, but that raises a million more questions. How long is this going to stay? Is he ever going to get back to Orlando, player that we remember seeing? Or is this – I mean, are the Celtics stuck with some damaged goods now? Is he ever going to be able to really help and contribute the way they thought he could?
I feel like his bald spot has gotten bigger too.
It has. I think he needs to do something about his
shave. Yeah.
Is it possible,
Jimmy? He needs to go all in.
Is that a COVID side effect?
Go all in. Go all in.
He needs to commit to the bald. Sherrod, one day Sherrod was like, I got to do it. And he just went and did it. And you know what? He looks better for it. And Fournier has to do the same thing.
Sometimes you just got to just say, forget the runway. We're just going to go with flat land. Flat land. Let's get away from the runway. Flat land this bad boy.
That's it, man.
It's always commendable when you take that jump.
Or go the other way.
It's hard not to
call
look
Dr.
at it, right?
Leonard. Maybe you should call Dr. Leonard. It's got to be
no, not until we get. You don't mention it until we get a sponsorship. All right, we spoke to those guys.
Yeah.
Okay? Zip it.
Oh well, in that case, yeah.
Zip it. You don't go there.
I never even heard of that.
You don't go there until we send you there. All right.
That's right.
Jimmy putting all these snacks on the air.
Damn, man, no free ads. Damn.
No, Jimmy. Yeah. Right.
What the hell was I thinking?
Let's think. Of
maybe he already is a customer. He probably already is. That's why it looks so bad.
Let's think of where this team's at. Kemba Walker's hurt. The Jays are hurt to some degree. Fournier feels like he has a concussion. And Rob and Thompson are kind of out of it right now. There's 7 games left until the playoffs, and there's no momentum going toward it right now at all. In fact, it's just the opposite for this team. I think we've kind of seen the season been written at this point.
There is no such thing as momentum with this team, and there never has been. It is literally one step forward, one step back.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the scary part for me about this team because they have not really put together any kind of flow or rhythm that gives you confidence that they can snap out of this. This isn't like the Lakers last year when they went into the playoffs. They lost 5 of their last 7 regular season games, but you knew that once the playoffs rolled around, they had their body of work throughout the regular season gave you confidence that they were going to figure this out. The Celtics, their body of work, no, not so much. They have played lately the way they played all season long. 1 minute you are giving them their props and giving them their flowers for an awesome, amazing effort and performance. And then we see this. 18 turnovers, blown opportunities at the rim. And yes, there were some bad calls that went against them, but adversity is part of the game. You know that. They have to figure out how to be, as Brad likes to say, the best version of themselves. Because right now, we don't know what that is. And if we're going by what we've seen, the best version of them is mediocre.
And this
mediocre
is what
basketball.
Sucks. This is what sucks is I was my hope, 10 games or so ago was Fournier gets back from COVID, Romeo's back, plays his way in, Bari, you work him in a little bit, everybody's as fully healthy as they're going to be, and you might actually be as close to, again, we keep using the same expression, the best version of yourselves, but the best version of what this team could possibly be, at least from a health standpoint and from having integrated everybody as much as you possibly could, given the fact that they haven't really played together as a full unit the entire season, and they just can't friggin' do it. The Fournier COVID setback was friggin' huge. Now you got obliques and this shit with the knocking knees now. It's like you can't get out of your own way with this stuff. Can we at least get 2 games where every single person is close to 100% as they could be? Impossible.
And that's the story.
So
that's the story of the
frustrating.
Season. I know we'll look back on this year with a lot of gripes and second guesses of coaching and performance and all this different stuff, but ultimately the big overarching thing was a lack of availability. And then you look at the roster and how it was built, but this level of absence, I don't think any amount of depth would have made up for. I mean, the bench was pretty good today.
They were, and that's the thing. This team fully functional with the bench, if all season long, let's pretend this team was at full health all season. They never
had full health all year.
And they never did. But let's say if they were, then the bench would have played the amount of time that the bench needed to play, and we wouldn't be as mad at them, and there'd be fewer Grant Williams rants and all of this and that. And they would play in roles where they actually would make the most amount of impact. And they would, like I said, the Celtics would walk into a 4 seed without even trying with full health. The reason I think there's so much frustration around this team is you look at them collectively and say there's enough talent on this roster, but there's not enough talent on the court often enough, which has led to probably just simply being effort has led to a ton of losses. Simply just not having enough good basketball players on the court at one time is easily a reason for 5, 6, 7 losses this year, if not more. And that's, you're right. That's a huge part of why they are where they are now in the 7th seed. Now they're in freaking play-in territory. So, that's where you are. And how many games are left now?
7.
And it doesn't get any easier.
How many?
Because
just kidding. 7?
Yeah.
7.
And you've got a couple games against Miami, who's in the same boat as you, trying to avoid the play-in. You've got the Knicks to end the season. They're probably going to be in that same trying to avoid play-in mode. And these games are going to be hard. And if you don't have your guys engaged and understanding what's at stake, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to be in a play-in game, and that sucks. That sucks.
Here's the thing. Motivation shouldn't even be a factor anymore. I mean, there's no reason these guys shouldn't be motivated for everything that's at stake. The only thing that should be in question right now is the health that we talked about. Kemba Walker missed another game. Jaylen Brown was questionable, and who knows now? I mean,
early returns out of the locker room, just listening to Fournier talking, said that those guys didn't seem overly concerned about their injuries.
Yeah, I don't think they are, but
in the locker room after.
Brown already had something going on anyway, so I don't know if he's due to miss a game, and that's another guy now that's going to miss a game.
Aaron Nesmith podium time, 2 games in a row.
So the one player we haven't really talked about is Nesmith, and I wanted to mention him because we did talk about the bench, but another solid performance from him. Same type of effect, all over the place. Got absolutely screwed on that goaltend. Wasn't that him?
Yep.
That goaltend.
I don't think he was absolutely screwed, but it was close.
It was close.
I thought. I mean, that ball was completely falling out of. It was
that one was
falling.
Close. Tristan was not close.
Yeah.
I thought Nesmith was
both
a 50-50.
of them. I thought both. It wasn't 50-50. I don't know. What I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it was looping over, like Jimmy said.
It was close.
They didn't have to call it. Let's put it that way.
Again,
that's a judgment call. The Tristan one was just a bad call.
That's what makes the Tristan one all the more shocking. You had a judgment call, one on Nesmith, and then
about
a few
2 possessions later. Before,
and then the Tristan one, which was so obviously not, like, seeing that the other one went against them, you would have figured that would be reason enough not to call the Tristan one, and it didn't. That was amazing. But yeah Nesmith outstanding again, and in addition to the little things, so the thing I liked most about today's game versus the others, oh man, like just the catch and shoot, quick stroke. It looked like, and I swear, didn't it feel like early in the year he got a little hitchy with the shot? It looks much more fluid now, but the release just looks better and quick, and it looks like it's going to go in every freaking time. It just looks really pure right now. And again, it does, right? I mean, there's something about it. It just looks like he's just.
It looks good.
So he had 3 of them.
He looks like a guy who knows that he can make that shot, and it's just simply going off of muscle memory. I'm going to shoot, let it fly. It's going to go in. That seems to be where he's at now. Before, it was like he'd catch, he'd think about it. Yeah, I think this might go in.
Right. Yeah, should I shoot? Should I do it? And then you hesitate. But I love that early they ran a set right off a timeout for him. That was the stuff we were begging for earlier in the year.
Right.
You bring him out there, get him involved. And you did it with Romeo, which I loved. They bring Romeo in and they run a set play and they get him an alley-oop and an easy bucket early to get him to feel like, okay, good, I'm doing something positive here. That was great. You want to involve these guys early when you get them in. That we were dying for Brad to run a few sets for Nesmith when you would enter the game to let him get loose with a couple of those shots, and he almost never did. And so he's just sitting there dying, standing at the three-point line, and no one will pass to him, and he's not moving, and he just didn't do anything during that little audition stint that he had earlier in the year. So I love that he comes in, and immediately they run him off a screen, boom, catch, bang, knocks it down. And he was off and running. It was a great game.
Yeah, a mix of those set plays around the screens. And you see that Thompson did it for him yesterday. I believe it was Rob who set him up in this one with a high screen above the line, running into it, catch and turn, shoot three. It seems to be his favorite play. And you saw him do a lot of that at Vanderbilt too. So that made it all the more shocking that they didn't put him in those positions earlier this year. I asked him about that pretty early in the season. He's like, you can't expect a lot of plays to be set up for you as a rookie, blah, 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 blah. But it's just about best using these guys for what they're made for. It's nice to see him just hitting straight up catch and shoot threes too. That was an area where he really struggled early in the season.
All of it is good.
But yeah, a ton of it good. He's shooting 56% from three now in his last 23 attempts from outside. So he's on that red hot streak we were expecting from him at certain times this year. Getting to the rim as well. Some mid-range shots over the last 3 games that he's played well in. And again, the rebounding. I don't think any of us expected him to be a high-level rebounder, but he's doing it game in and game out at this point. He should have been the guy off the bench when Smart got ejected. I don't understand that one.
That was surprising. Actually, there's a comment here. Somebody had asked, and I can't find it. Otherwise, I'd put it up. But kudos for mentioning it because it's interesting. Start Nesmith, put Smart to the bench if Kemba was healthy.
Maybe.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying
we do this. We've done this before with Pritchard. We did it. I think we've done it with other players. I think you just let Nesmith get comfortable in the role that he's in right now. It's not like he's been doing it that long.
Shooting.
He can still come off the bench and shoot.
Yeah.
They still need guys who can score off the bench.
And don't forget, Brown.
Yeah, you're right. If he plays with the starters, he'll literally never touch the ball.
Right.
Though I mean, his minutes
recently
have been with starters.
The ball. Worse than that is he'll touch the ball and he'll give it right back when he's wide open. Yeah. Which defeats the purpose of being a guy who was drafted to help space the floor when you don't shoot the ball when you're open to help space the floor.
Yeah.
I like
people come off the bench.
If Fournier can get back to where he was, I mean, having him and Nesmith coming off the bench isn't the worst first two guys coming off.
Those comments from Fournier, holy crap.
Yeah, those are definitely
After
troubling.
This game, I would have, if I'd heard that 2 games ago, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But he played fairly well today, and he's still talking around. He's walking around like he feels like he has a concussion. That's terrible.
Yeah, I still see the movement stuff. I really do.
But that also
the reaction time is what I was saying after last game. It's bad. And again, that's not something that's probably going to fully alleviate over the next 7 games. Who knows? It could, but
everyone's different. But how long do you think Tatum was in a bit of a fog?
About
a solid
a month.
Yeah.
Feels like it. Yeah, the way he's playing now.
And who knows if it was the same level of what Fournier, his was more kind of breathing, but definitely, like Fournier sounds like he's just, in the, fog in the brain right now, which, right.
The game being too fast for him or him not pace being quicker, that scares the hell out of me because that's your game. I mean, that's why you're on the floor. You have to create tempo. You have to create pace. You have to be in rhythm. And if all of that stuff is off kilter, it's going to throw the guys that you're playing with off kilter because they're going to expect you to do certain things in certain situations. And if your reaction time is a clear second or two off what it normally is, that's not good for the entire team. Not just you as an individual, but for the team. It's a domino effect.
People in the chat saying all he needs to do is drink water. To flush the COVID out, flush that COVID out of his system, right? TB12. He'll also avoid any future concussions if he just drinks a lot of water.
And no sunburns,
and no sunburns, right?
For the top of his head, balding head.
You actually, there's special fizzy concussion water I think you can get from TB12, anti-concussion water. Quick, and just to let everybody know again, we're doing the locker room thing.
Brady's gonna call him.
We're heading over there, after this show or to continue this show and continue talking about some of the stuff we've been talking about here.
How'd it go last night on Locker Room, Sherrod? You did a show with Max.
It was me, Joe Sway, Max, and our guy Nick. It was good.
Max was trying to get Tatum and Brown to beat some people up. I was like, wow, it's getting violent.
Yes. Find a little badass in you. No, the Celtics, and again, it's neither here nor there with tonight, but they need to get tougher. And tough, it doesn't mean you got to go out and kick someone's ass, but you need to be, I think, more physically and mentally tougher. We talked earlier about how late in the game they just melted. They didn't execute. You have to be better in those situations. They've got too many guys who've been through too many big games and in big games and have come up big in big games to be melting down the way they do in late game situations, the way we've seen this year.
What did you see from the defense tonight? Because we were watching this game all night long, and it was the back and forth thing going on, but I was getting frustrated too. Like, come on.
Real quick, come to Locker Room after the game. Download the iOS app. We think it works on some Android devices. Please check them out and come hang out with us after and share some of your frustration with us. Go ahead on the defense, Sherrod.
Bobby, what were you saying, Bobby?
I was saying at some point, this back and forth, and we saw these two teams do it again. I guess everybody does it against the Blazers, but there's no defense whatsoever from the Celtics. 129 allowed, 50% from three. I never felt like there was even a stretch of good defense from Boston in this game.
No, I thought early on that they allowed Portland to get really comfortable. And even when they were contesting shots, because Portland had already established a rhythm, it didn't matter. They were still knocking down shots. They have to do their dirty work early. They have to set the tone early, and we don't see that. We don't see that defensive edge that you need to have. What's that?
Where's Jaylen's defense at these days?
That fake by CJ sent them into the fifth row. Oh,
that was bad. That was so bad, so bad. And that's another thing. I mean, their best defenders are not setting the tone defensively. They're allowing their offense to dictate how they play defense. I mean, we see it with Tatum a lot. We see it with Jaylen Brown a lot. And it's bad when your two best players are allowing their offense to set the tone. It can't be that way. They need to be more engaged in terms of shutting down their guys or at least making life as difficult as possible. I'd like to see a dive for a loose ball in the first quarter. I would like to see a block or a steal leading to a layup, something that transfers defense to offense so that it can send a message not only to the opponent, but to your teammates that you're engaged at that end of the floor. And that's a priority because right now it's not.
Some people are going to laugh at this, but it's not the whole story on defense by any means. But you just look, Tatum had that block off the glass early. No steals. That was his only block of the night. No steals or blocks from Smart. No steals or blocks from Brown. And again, that's not the whole story on defense, but you would expect one of your top three defenders to probably have a steal.
We got to stop calling Jaylen a top defender on the team. We have to. He's got to start actually playing.
Has Fournier passed him?
I don't know. What I'm saying is I just don't think it's this idea of look. Nobody's
His reputation's ahead of where he is.
Yes, exactly. No one's going to question Jaylen's made a leap offensively this year, and he's been an efficient scorer, and he's an integral part of the team. But every time people come to the defense of Jaylen Brown, you're consistently talking about him as a two-way player. So when you bring him up in a hypothetical Bradley Beal trade or something like that, it was, well, Beal doesn't play defense. I got news for you. Jaylen Brown at this point right now isn't really playing defense. Not the way he's supposed to be or, that he's supposedly capable of. Now, maybe it's a knee. Maybe it's the thing that's been bugging him. He's a step slow on it. I don't think so. I think it's more a matter of focus and effort where it's just he's not focusing as much in that part of his game. As Sherrod said, the offense is setting the tone for the Jays most nights as opposed to starting it out with the defense. So I just don't think you can call Jaylen sure, he's got moments where his athleticism and his effort are going to make him a very capable defender. It's just not consistent.
Sure. And
overall, he's become very average defensively, which is too bad because, you go back and you look at just where he started with the Celtics and where he was after a year or two, and it was clear that he was trending in the direction of being an elite defender.
Yeah.
And then, as his responsibility to be more of a scorer increased, his level of defensive impact
I was just going to say that.
But,
his shot started to fall.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
The guys he guarded, their shots started to fall.
Right, exactly. Does one make it so you can't do the other, or do you start to think like,
no,
I'm a superstar because I score a lot now, and I am now defined by my offense, and defense is for up and coming chumps that haven't made their bones yet in the NBA, and now I've made my bones because look at me, I'm an all-star and I score. Yeah, it's hard. It sounds mean, but it is what it is. Like you get to.
No, it happens to everybody, but usually it happens later than this.
It happens later. Like Kawhi Leonard isn't drawing that critical assignment now. Kawhi Leonard made his bones being a friggin', a phenomenal two-way player. Later stages of his career, he's not out there chasing Tatum around when those guys play. That's not his assignment. It's. You're right. You get kind of that privilege a little bit later. LeBron not locking down every single guy like he used to. LeBron used to basically say, like, who's the best player on that team? I'm going to guard him, whether it's Rondo or a center. Didn't matter. Early in the career. And again, you get later stages, you don't do that as much. But this is you're right. It's a little early to be kind of saying, like, I'm done with defense now, right, guys?
Yeah, the thing with them and Tatum in particular.
Yeah, Nesmith, you take him.
Yeah. This guy's all energy. You can run around, right? Exactly.
Tatum in particular hasn't had those off nights, hasn't had any rest within game. So you understand his regression on that end just from the sheer amount of offense that he has to put out every single game. Brown's had a couple off nights, but he's legitimately hurt all year long. So that's probably hit him in some type of way. The guy we've talked about all year is Smart. Like Smart has increased his workload offensively, but not enough to the point where you look at the numbers still.
You could be listening, Bobby.
Choose your words.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
We gotta do a Smart segment, guys. I'm sorry.
He's right behind you, Bobby.
Put up the graphic. I'm sorry. If we get a phone call, we get a phone call. This was a bad game from Smart, and he's having on a string of them now. Too many threes, not enough.
I'm glad you said it. When I say it, nobody takes it seriously.
No, but if you look back on and we've seen this for probably 6-7 games in a row now, starting against.
You thought he was hurt. You said, "Oh, he's probably going to miss a game or two."
Well, that was on Friday, but back to the Warriors game. He shot 11 threes in that game, 1 of 5 the next game against Phoenix. He missed that Chicago game. Was he sick for that one? I think that was when he wasn't feeling well. 2 of 10 from 3 against Brooklyn, 3 of 7 against Charlotte, 1 of 10 against Oklahoma City, 1 of 4 against the Spurs on Friday. And then tonight he comes out and took 7?
Took
3 of 9. It's the stuff he keeps going back to on the offensive end of the floor. Shot chucking, taking over the offense, and then the defense suffers.
Chucking. It's not rhythm threes. Again, we always talk about it. Through the course of a game, of course, you swing the ball around. Marcus Smart is open. You want him to take the open shot. But late in the game, he just dribbles up and decides heat check time. I'm 2 of 8. Let's see what I've got. And just chuck one up there. And that's the one I texted you on. I was like, okay, my Marcus rage is starting to, it's rising. Like, and that's again on the Brad stuff. Like, my goodness.
He had options to take him out tonight. He did.
Exactly. You got to say, dude, come, let's stay within ourselves here. Like, that's not what we're out here to do. But no, it just doesn't. He goes out there and he sees like all these other guys doing it. He's like, oh, cool.
Right.
Threes.
Right.
He closed the game with a turnover. He made a three. He hit a floater in the lane and then missed a 27-footer at 117, 111 after CJ had made that pull-up before. And then he got ejected. This was kind of a smart game to me.
7 points,
not
8 rebounds,
this
1
comment,
sack tap.
How far into this career are we where we need Joe Sway here to talk about difficult conversations. Like someone's got to have that difficult conversation with Marcus and be like, we love you. Everybody loves you. You're a heart and soul guy. You're invaluable member of the team. You're our best playmaker at this time. Your defense is the glue that keeps us together. There are so many ways you can impact this team in a positive way. Just if you would possibly consider not chucking 10 threes a game. And
Right.
Thank you sincerely, everyone. And that's it.
Everybody
it's not
signs
that
the card.
hard.
Yeah.
Right. We all sign the
deal.
card. Please, we love you. It's great.
Gift
Please
card
stop
to,
doing that.
Dave and Buster's or something in there.
He was
and
on
just
a really
be done with it.
He was on a really strong run for a while after that Charlotte win where we were talking about him. But I don't know.
Yeah, and then I don't know.
Again, the ejection. I don't know if he did it or not. If it was good call, bad call, but to get ejected in that spot was tough. It was.
But
you know what? But it was a clear representative of the kind of night he was having. I mean, the officials pretty much made official what was already happening, and that was Marcus Smart was not there, was not impacting the game. We talked about the shot chucking, and the one thing I've always been able to kind of push back on that with is that, yes, he takes a lot of bad shots. No one will ever refute that. But what he typically does, more nights than not, is he makes plays on that card, other end of the floor. He does things that help you win games, but he's not doing as many. He's not making as many of those plays. I mean, he's taking 10, 12, shot chucks, and he's making one, maybe two real difference-making type of plays defensively. When we're used to seeing him make 5, 6, 7 of those, that's exactly the issue.
That's exactly
the issue. He needs to make more of the plays that we're used to seeing him make in order to justify the free reign to shoot at will.
You wash away a lot of that stuff.
Yes.
With those, not just winning plays. It's almost like, there's nobody out here who would have made this play. Like this was a momentum altering, game saving, totally tone of the game changing play that you made. And you made a couple of them, or the game needed a thing and you gave the game that thing, whatever it was. He used to make them, and you're right, more of them. And now it's just kind of like, oh, that was a pretty good defensive series, or he kind of got lost on a screen there. It's not happening enough. It's inconsistent. Like a lot of people, a lot of inconsistent effort.
And I don't know if that's a physical thing or whether that has something to do with the fact that the focus of this team has become more of an offensive, let's get our shot ISO type of team, as opposed to one that relied so heavily on ball movement, which makes being a good defender, an elite defender like him, it makes his job a lot easier if the ball is swinging around, because then the focus is on getting the best shot as opposed to let's get a shot for Tatum, let's get a shot for Jaylen. They need to figure out how to find that happy medium between making sure those two really good scorers are getting their shots, but damn it, keep the ball moving so the other three guys on the floor are involved as well.
I feel like if Marcus accepted the defensive stopper role, like if he was cool with being more of a Tony Allen, like he would just be that much more important to this team. I feel like, and I'm not.
He's better than Tony Allen overall. I know. Overall, I think he's a better player, and I think his role is such that he has to be more than Tony Allen. Tony Allen played with 3 freaking future Hall of Famers. I mean, we don't really need a whole lot when you're playing with guys.
But even when Tony Allen left in Memphis, I'm saying though, like he accepted that, he was a defensive leader, and he was one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA. And I think Smart has that. He has that talent, but sometimes, maybe like how it has with Jayson, with Jaylen Brown, sometimes his offense kind of gets in the way a little bit of his defense, I think.
And that's the challenge, though, because when you talk about a guy like Tony Allen, he went somewhere where that franchise took on the identity of him, not the other way around. Here, Marcus is trying to figure out how to continue to be who he is and be authentic to who that is, knowing that the identity of this team is directly tied to Jayson Tatum, directly tied to Jaylen Brown. And he's trying to figure out, even though he's the most senior player on this team, he still has to get in where he fits in. Whereas other guys who've kind of been with an organization as long as he has, they kind of become the identity, and he's not.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, to play devil's advocate a tad on the Smart stuff, due to injuries,
the Kemba thing. Yeah.
And Kemba thing, and also just the inconsistent play from the bench, whether he makes them or not, Smart actually is one of the few guys who can create a shot, or and so he sometimes feels he has to. So I do think part of that is feeling like, I got to do something because there's not enough people out here who will. So you do understand the moments where he does, even though the track record with the team, and I think that magic number is 13 shots, and their record when he shoots over 13 or more is absolutely abysmal. I don't know what the numbers are anymore. When he's under, it's better. But when you have both Jays out there, and in this case, Fournier, even though he's all fuzzy, there's other options. There's a ton of people out there knocking down shots. You don't need to force them. Like, nobody can miss. Just, swing the ball, get open looks. I mean, Nesmith was perfect. Tatum was freaking on fire. Fournier was on fire. In this game, this did not require Marcus Smart saying, like, I wonder how I'm going to do. I wonder how I'd do if I shot 10 threes. Absolutely not the right game for it.
It's interesting.
There are games where you need it, where you need it more. You need him to try because there's not a lot of people out there who can.
Right.
This wasn't one. Yeah.
I'm not saying like never shoot, but it's just, shoot when, let the game come to you a little bit in that sense. Don't force those shots. I mean, it's the same stuff we've always been saying about it, but sometimes, and some games it feels like he does sort of, play the role that, I feel like he's, best suited for, where he's, by far like the third, fourth option on the offensive side, and he's doing his thing on the defensive end. But when he does start to go down the court and is looking for his shot, or looking to put up a heat check or whatever you want to call it, sometimes that's when I think the team can get in a little bit of trouble.
Friday, I thought he was great, especially given how he looked out there. He took a charge late, a catch and shoot three, and he just seemed to understand that the way Tatum was rolling, he didn't even have to touch the ball. He could just go wide, space the floor, and let Tatum make those plays. Got tricky tonight because Tatum was turning the ball over a ton in that second half, and Smart was at the same time. So at that point, where do you go for ball control when Fournier's head's spinning and he's not seeing straight out there with the depth perception? You definitely don't want him doing it. Well, so with no Kemba, Smart kind of had to step into that role tonight, and it's not great, but it's what he had to do.
Well, let's talk also. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to say.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think Marcus Smart was 4-14, pretty rough, but I thought Jaylen Brown offensively was just as bad.
That's where I was going. Forsey McGee. Yeah.
The last two games he's been horrendous shooting. Just like, what was he tonight?
And forcing it and contested
6 for 22,
shots.
And then the last game he was 5 for 24. So you're 11 for 48 or whatever it is, 40.
I'm not. But what was he
46.
like the 5 games before that, though?
I know. Well, that's the thing. The two games before that, he was unreal. Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's just like it's a little.
It's just love. I mean, it's just basketball averaging out. I mean, Jaylen's going to have 2 or 3 bad. But again, the thing about Jaylen Brown, that even when he has a game like this where he just he sucks shooting the rock. Let's be honest. He still found other ways to make an imprint on the game. He had 11 rebounds. And when I think about the Celtics and guys who have a really hot streak shooting the ball, on those nights when they're not, when shots aren't falling, what else are you giving me? Are you giving me something else that can at least take my attention off the fact that you can't hit the wide side of a barn tonight? And he's one of those guys that does that. That was my issue with Fournier when he wasn't making shots. He was getting torched defensively. He wasn't making shots. And at that point, you're just a warm body in high tops running up and down the damn court. You are giving me no value.
It's mostly low tops these days, Sherrod.
Right.
But when you're Jaylen,
one
thing Jaylen has and can do different than these other guys when they go cold, different than Marcus Smart, different than a Fournier, is beat people off the dribble and get to the friggin' basket. And so he's relying on a lot of contested shots. A lot of the threes were like pull-ups with people in his face, like it wasn't, weren't a lot of rhythm shots tonight, and he wasn't aggressive enough trying to take it places. So that's to me is when it's not falling, you always have that option of like, screw it, I'm just going to go. Last couple of games, I feel like he's just kind of chucking a little bit.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So,
but if you go back and you look at the games where he had those big scoring nights, he does a lot of shot chucking then too.
He makes a lot of these shots.
Yeah.
What was the injury that he was questionable with? I forget.
Ankle.
So I'm wondering if he's just kind of maybe avoiding that sort of contact,
maybe I don't know.
that type of a drive, and doesn't want to. Sometimes players might tend to settle for the shot as opposed to taking the contact and potentially.
He didn't settle for any more
foot.
shots than he normally does, Jimmy, even when he's been healthy. I mean, these as
Bobby.
Unfortunately, this is part of his playlist. These are the shots he's going to take, healthy or not healthy.
Right.
He's got to be better defensively and on the. I mean, he did a decent job on the boards, but his defense was, and we talked about this earlier. His defense has to be better. This is a guy just a couple years ago that was trending towards really being a top-notch, upper shelf, elite defender, and he's just not bringing that. That for me, if you want to have a knock against Jaylen Brown, because I don't think there are many. I think he's a really complete player. His defense and the steps he's taking back at that end of the floor, that stands out.
It does. You also just wish he could get on the ball more. Another game like this where he's out on the perimeter waiting for it to come to him. When he is a guy, he has shown at this point in his career that he can get on it and do a lot of stuff with it. But there's just certain games where if Smart's going to be dominating it the way he did, and Tatum deservedly so after his first half that he had, you want the ball in his hands. There's just not enough balls at certain points for everybody to get the amount of touches and time and shots that they want. And again, I think he got the amount of shots that he wanted here, but were they the quality shots? Were they the good looks? Was he able to take advantage of the kind of threat that he can be on that side of the floor? For Jaylen, I don't know how many ways and the amount of times we can say it. There's going to be games where he has the ball a ton, and then there's going to be games where we're screaming that he doesn't have it enough. And it's just going to continue, it feels like, with this construction of the team.
He's taken quite a few shots the last two games, just hasn't really fallen for him. Jayson Tatum talked after the game. He seems fine. Did not give an update on Jaylen, but he just said that they did kind of just knock legs. So again, hoping that that's all that it is.
What I think it is too.
Tatum is saying he's pretty sure he'll be fine. He sees how he wakes up over it. But again, usually if you're doing a post-game press conference and you're talking about it, you usually feel pretty good.
Contusion.
Would like to see Jaylen in there, right? Would like to hear something more definitive on Brown, that it's just kind of a bump, not some sort of sprain or exaggerating a previous injury, but nothing yet. Again, I want to tell people, actually, we're going to be heading over in a little bit. We're going to do the locker room thing. We'll put the link in the chat. Guys, any other leftovers from this game you wanted to talk about before we move it over?
From this game. What do you think of the Blazers, Bobby?
What do we wait? Sorry, I have one. What are we doing now? Some days we start Tristan, some days we start Rob. Is that the thing?
Yeah, I didn't understand the.
What are we doing
there? Yeah, I thought Rob was the starter.
Rhetorical question.
What are we doing?
It was the Nurkic thing, I guess. Rob had a little trouble in this matchup last time with the high screen action, especially when they were going way up with Lillard and doing that thing.
We have to do this every time? Like, yes.
Didn't work, though. Yeah, it didn't work.
Do we have to do it every time? We've reached a point of clarity and understanding with Rob that the good outweighs the bad, right? So, yes, there are some matchups.
We beat it into everybody, but yes. We've all realized that.
Brad rather had said they have an understanding of what their playoff rotations look like. He said this a couple times the last 2 weeks. When they're fully healthy, we know what we're going to look like in terms of rotations. We have a great idea of that. As far as center goes, if they're swapping back and forth and the minutes are in flux the way they seem to be here, I don't know if that's necessarily true, because it felt like Rob had the upper hand and Thompson was going to be playing that complementary role with Grant. That was actually looking pretty good back there.
Dead even now, and Grant is on a milk carton.
Oh,
yeah.
So
I don't think the rotations are set for the playoffs. Certainly not, especially if he's still mixing in Romeo at this point.
Well, yeah, we did again. It is the third straight game where he's stuck with the same players. Romeo being the one difference tonight, where he did get 14
And I think
minutes.
that was a little bit because Brown was maybe a little banged up and they needed an extra body or whatever.
Could be.
But
Yeah. But yeah, he got some run here. I actually do think Romeo still has a chance to get some minutes. But Parker, again.
Yeah, it was pretty much an 8.
Parker,
man.
Ojale, Grant, gone.
Parker's gone.
Parker's gone.
Too bad.
Just like that.
25 points in those first 3 games.
We say that, but we've been saying that about player X all year, and then they just show up out of nowhere.
But that's the point.
He could be this year's Gerald Green, a guy that was seemingly buried on the bench, and then for whatever reason, Brad feels good about them and throws them out there, and they play amazing. Remember Gerald Green a couple years ago in that Chicago Bulls series where he got the start,
move.
it was. I could see Parker, at some point becoming a prominent player off the bench for a game, not a series, not a stretch, but a game. And that's okay, because adding him to your roster, if he can help you win one game in the playoffs, you've gotten your money's worth.
Well, the Nesmith emergence here is really going to cut into Parker's minutes if Nesmith can keep it up. I mean, that isn't to say there's only so many minutes that are going to go around.
That was my desire here, and I think you guys agreed here that they should build on this Nesmith thing, ride some ups and downs here, fully integrate him, play him these final 7 games, and prepare him to be part of that playoff rotation. You don't want to see them just loosely align themselves with this rotation now, and then the second it gets bad for Nesmith, try some other things and get away with that in the postseason, because it does feel like Nesmith's the best fit with a lot of these different lineups.
He's in right now. He's not going anywhere. I really do. I think he's.
Even if he starts missing shots when he's out on the floor, the fact that he plays so damn hard consistently, he's an energy guy. And when you hear Tatum and Brown and all these other folks talk about, him and what he means to them, it's hard for me to imagine him having a couple of rough stretches where he's missing shots. Brad will all of a sudden say, "Nah, we're gonna go back to Grant." I don't think it's gonna happen.
Right. I think we've seen it too many times that he's willing to do that. He's willing to try a bunch of different things, especially come playoff time. Like you said, that Chicago series is the greatest example, Sherrod. They had a plan for 2 games, wasn't working at all, and at that point you kind of have to blow things up. But that's his approach. He's going to try everything. He's going to pull guys up from the bottom of that bench. And like you said about Parker, it wouldn't be surprising to see him bounce back into the equation there if they get down big in a game. I'm interested to see how they approach the Orlando game, though, because Orlando is not going to put a lot of resistance out there. They sat almost everybody for the Detroit game today.
Yeah, well, you can lose any of these games. We've learned that now, right?
City, all those teams are trying to align themselves as best they can for the lottery. They're not trying to do anything even remotely close to winning. And you saw what happened to Oklahoma City when they played Indiana.
Yeah.
Unreal.
They had it was the same game plan that they have for the Celtics. We're going to give you everything you want. All you got to do is make open shots.
Yeah, if you show up, it's like signing your name to the SATs. That's literally all you had to do. I'll give you a free 200 points if you want. Just walk in, sign your name, and you can have whatever you want. You walk out with a win.
Sabonis had a freaking double-double in the first half. They shot like 65% as a team for the game.
Yeah.
Bobby, our guy, O'Shea had a double-double.
We're gonna do this thing. It's a school night. It's Sunday. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna go over to the locker room, hang for a few minutes with you guys. So come on over. The room is open. So somebody drop it in the chat now if you haven't already, and come hang out and share your thoughts. Among the things we're talking about, Marcus Smart to the bench. I don't know. People are talking. Awesome. Bobby, are you putting up Cornette comments?
Yes, I am. I saw it and I couldn't.
Who gave you control? You wait till I leave.
That is perfect.
It's an idea.
I know. I'm just kidding. 7 games left. What is everybody thinking here? It's I don't know. Let's see. Let's head out. Let's head over there.
The Hornets have ball back now, so I mean that's a team that's got a little more firepower behind him than they did when you played.
My God, that guy. He's unreal, huh?
The highlights.
He had another one tonight.
Yeah, you know what I'm really getting sick of is the Hornets announcers. Like, just chill, buddy. Just Just
no, I love
take it
my
down a
guy.
notch.
He's
They're
fired
enjoying
up.
it.
It's
They're
too much.
enjoying that year.
It's
That's
a
the
little
best.
too much.
This is the best season in Bobcats, and this is the Bobcats
It's
history.
10 to 20% too much. You
It's
can
just
achieve
a
the
little
same
too
goal
much.
if you just dialed it back a little bit. I love the energy, but it feels manufactured.
Yeah,
I might
exactly.
start watching them.
He's self-aware.
We'll see how these final 7 games go. It might start being more worth watching them than the Celtics, and it's kind of trended them that way
They're
this
fun
year.
to watch.
Yeah, they should be on national TV more.
They're my favorite team.
If you gotta get league pass, you gotta do what you gotta do.
They're up there.
They're fun.
They
as
are
hell
fun to watch.
Though.
That feels like the way this is going. If you guys had to predict at this point, aren't you thinking playing Charlotte, Boston?
Gotta happen.
As that a matchup?
If you're going to be in a play-in,
that feels like where this is going.
Well, that means the Pacers or the Wizards would get in.
No, they'll be in 10. And Washington will get that 10 spot.
It would be 7 Celtics, 8 Charlotte.
Oh, I
yeah.
thought you were going to play each
You have
other.
to lose. You have to lose twice to not make the tournament.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're the Celtics.
If you end up in that 7 or 8 seed, you have to lose twice.
Exactly.
Which
otherwise you're
is
in.
Possible.
Which is, if the Celtics have proven they can lose to anyone. So, all right, room's starting to fill up a little bit, so I'm going to head over. Bobby's going to talk cornet with Jimmy for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
We're doing 5 minutes. We're doing 5 minutes.
5 minutes and head over, and let's wrap this one up early
tonight.
tonight.
Do I have to text you again?
No, I'm good.
Bobby's here. Bobby's in control.
All right, good.
All right, we're out.
All right,
come join us. Come join us.
Get out of here, boomers.
All right, well, let us take some questions. I got nothing on Cornet.
Right, yeah, I know. I mean, well, other than the fact that he's back to just not playing again. I mean, I guess that was a little surprising, just because I thought that he has been effective.
I feel like if in a game like this where Thompson's struggling immensely,
that's exactly it,
maybe go for a change of pace there, mix things up. That's what the old Brad would do. I have a piece coming tomorrow, Jimmy.
Isn't that what coaching is? Isn't that what coaching is?
Like,
something's not working, just throw this out there. You have the power. He's the only guy in the world that has the power to just try this.
Yeah, especially at center.
Why not just try it?
That's what center is to him as a coach. Mix things up, matchups. One guy's not going, shift to another guy. Like, nothing's set in stone, especially if that's the way he's handling the rotation, as it seems to be. We're going to start Thompson on Wednesday. We're going to start Rob on Friday, and then we're going to start Thompson again on Sunday. I don't know. Beats me, but you're going to be surprised, Jimmy. I have I won't say scathing piece on Brad, but probably scathing by my standards. I've obviously been one of his biggest supporters. I dove into his full season of nitpicking things that have worked, haven't worked, and just sort of hashed out. If you feel like hiring or firing him, rather, here's the evidence. And if you think it might work going forward, here's some other evidence to that, because there's certainly some excuses he's had to work with as well here. But overall, I think there's a lot to look at when it comes to his season, and say that at the very least, the things you would expect from a Brad Stevens team: 3-point defense. I mean, they gave a 50% 3-point shooting to Portland tonight. Passing,
turnovers,
pace. Yeah, shooting a bunch of threes, which wasn't always the case this season. I know it's the case now, but I don't know. All this stuff just doesn't look like a Stevens
the rotations, the substitutions. There's a lot of stuff. Listen, when you limp into the playoffs as the play-in game, if you're even lucky enough to, they should be thanking their lucky stars that there even is a play-in game this year, because we could be talking about them missing the playoffs, which is just unacceptable, right? So when you have that type of a season, everything needs to be looked at. Every person needs to be looked at and criticized and critiqued, and the exit interviews can't be pretty, put it that way. And that includes Danny Ainge too. I'm not saying anything drastic or crazy, but everyone needs to take a look at themselves and say, I need to be better, or this is what I could have done better, or should have done better, because this has been a painful season. And I know a lot of it has to do with injuries and COVID, and it's been a tough year for everybody. But on top of that, it's been a disappointing season just because of the way some of these games have gone in the game, like the in the game swings, the lack of momentum, the lack of effort you see out there a lot of times, the the inability to string together wins and to ride any sort of momentum outside of, a single game. Those are the stuff that frustrates you, and those are the reasons why a lot of people are down on this team heading into the playoffs and don't think that they have what it takes to even get out of the first round.
I'm just baffled by the defense tonight. Again, I asked Sherrod, was there any resistance
Portland can score
all game long? I know, but you would expect a few stretches. The last time they obviously won the last game on April 12th there. Smart held Lillard to 1 of 5 in that game, and they legitimately clamped down a little bit down the stretch to grab that win. There was no stretch like that here tonight.
Right. No, I agree.
I'm looking at the defensive ratings. So obviously this awful stretch they've been on started with that Nets loss last Friday. You look at some of these defensive ratings. Smart, 116. Brown, 119. Thompson, 122. Tatum, 124. Kemba, I guess it was just one game, 138.
Yeah.
They're getting lit up on defense again.
Yep, they are.
So there you have it.
I mean, it's freaking 71 points at halftime. I mean, you can't just expect to go shot for shot with these guys.
And that's another Brad thing. Brad's teams have all been good on defense.
Right.
This is probably his worst one yet.
They've all worked. They've all worked harder on that end.
Yeah. So all eyes are on Brad tomorrow. That piece will be out in Celtics blog.
Nice.
And we will be back on Wednesday here on the Celtics postgame show against the Orlando Magic. It's a road trip. Jimmy's taking that night off, right?
TBD. I gotta see if I can move a few things around if I can, but if I can't, then yeah, I might.
I'm sure you'll be. I'm sure you'll be trying hard to make the Magic game.
Yeah, that's true. It's not the greatest matchup. And then what is it?
Friday's the Bulls.
And then they get Heat back.
Then that Heat series starts.
7
which is
games
gonna
left.
Be so important.
And the thing is, if they go 4-3 into the playoffs, what is that? That's not going to change any opinions of them. That's not going to change their own opinions really of themselves. I feel like, and they're just going to limp into the playoffs. You gotta. This is the time where you the hot teams play well going into the playoffs. What happened to the Heat? They caught fire in the bubble and they rode it all the way into the NBA Finals. You gotta find some sort of spark and ride something out here. And this. Win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 1. It's just not gonna do anything for you.
Yeah, and it's gonna be even harder to string that together if some guys are out here. It looks like Tatum will be fine. Brown, less clear. We'll see on that.
Brown, anyway, Kemba with this oblique. We'll see what that's all about. If it's just giving him rest, maybe more than anything, hopefully.
Well, that's the thing too. Remember when he ran off the court on Sunday?
Yep.
And we were like, "Oh God, here we go." He came back. But if he never came back and then he missed 4 straight games, we'd be freaking out.
Yeah, I know. I don't get too crazy over the oblique stuff just because it's not a lower body or it's it's nothing like that. But it's a strain and it could certainly be something that bothers him when he because he's a guy that twists and turns his way to the hoop and I'm sure that can affect him. So yeah, I don't know the type of recovery involved there, but I don't see that being something. A high ankle sprain type injury where it's going to be out for multiple weeks because of it. But what the hell do I know? I don't know anything.
So here's the Magic. No Michael Carter-Williams, no James Ennis, no Fultz, no Jonathan Isaac, no Chumo KK, no Otto Porter, and no Terrence Ross. That's how they're coming at it on Wednesday. They are going for that number 1 pick.
Literally nobody. Their Celtics they can't even lose this game if they really wanted to.
You just got to stop Wendell Carter.
This would be a next level loss for them.
Although
final boss level loss.
Did you see Cole Anthony's game winner? He's got a pair of those this year, so they have been able to win in spite of this.
Was that last night? I think
that was Friday, Saturday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, last night. Yeah, that was a big shot. He was hyped.
They beat Memphis. All right, Nick's in the chat. I see him. We'll be heading over to the locker room, so he's going to have to join us there if he wants to hear us continue to chat on this. You know what my question's going to be for locker room? Is Tatum and Brown going to be all NBA this year? Because obviously Tatum's gone on a big run at this end of this year, and you look at his numbers, they are going to be...
I think Tatum definitely is going to make one of those teams.
And that's a big impact on his contract. He gets a ginormous boost. I don't know what the exact number is. I'll take that over to the locker room.
I feel like that should have been something that they assumed would happen at some point.
It's something to do with the Supermax. If
yeah, you're right. If you make a certain NBA team, you qualify for that next.
And this would be
contract.
multiple all NBA teams for him now after last year.
I thought you meant it was like built into his contract.
The next one that's coming up next year. So tax implications for Wick. That tax tryout, it might not even have to be one. Tatum might be deciding it for them.
Yeah, I think Tatum's on his way to one of those teams. I don't think Brown makes one of them at this rate anyways, but we'll see.
So this is this guy here apparently has the number 193 compared to, I don't know, something that's a little less. Brown also just hit an incentive tonight as well. He just got $1 million bump this year from 58 games played, as well as the All-Star appearance. So he hit his incentive. He just made himself an extra $2 million tonight.
Wow.
So those guys are earning their money.
Not a bad night.
So yeah, we will see on Brown. Next 2 days are off. We're back on Wednesday. Probably be a practice in there or something. So
wow, a rare practice. Hopefully they can learn something.
We are in the locker room. We will see you over there. And make sure you subscribe to the Garden Report podcast as well as the Celtics post-game podcast where you can hear this and the locker room version respectively. We'll see you on Wednesday.